quite welcome. There's, what rec council do you play in right here? What's the name of the rec council? Pretty Boy Rec Council, right. And there's a 7th District Rec Council, which is just like Pretty Boys, except up at 7th District. And 5th District and Sparks are all part of the Hereford Zone Rec Council. And some of you may be playing in Woods and Hereford Zone Rec Council as well. So those are 3 rec councils. Baltimore County, which is the county that we all live in, has 47 rec councils. Okay, all spread all around the county. And in Baltimore County, there is a board of directors which helps to advise and guide those 47 rec councils. And I'm chairman of the board, president of that council. So when a rec council needs help or advice, and we try to guide them to go in the proper direction and keep them out of trouble. Okay? How many people here play sports? Yeah, just about everybody. Okay, give me a sport that you play. Yes, what?
Basketball.
Basketball, okay. Where do you play basketball?
In the gym, usually.
In this gym here?
But this year we did it mostly at Sparks.
At Sparks, okay. Do you have a lot of practice time?
Not this year because we had some equipment in our gym, so we couldn't really practice.
Does that help you or hurt you?
We actually did pretty good without practice.
But you still need practice, don't you? What other sports? What do you play?
Lacrosse.
Lacrosse. Where do you play lacrosse? At Hereford, okay. And where do you practice?
Tennessee Valley.
Genesee Valley, okay, good. Yes?
Field hockey.
Field hockey. Where do you play field hockey?
Tennessee Valley.
How come you don't play field hockey at Pretty Boy or Sparks or Hereford Middle School? Any idea? Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. What other sports? Yes?
Soccer.
Soccer. Where do you play soccer?
Hereford Middle.
Do you get enough practice time? Are the fields crowded?
A little bit.
Yeah, okay, all right. Yes, any other sports? Yes.
Baseball.
Baseball, good, okay. Where do you play baseball?
Sparks.
Sparks, at the elementary school? Okay, good, okay. So you play a lot of sports. What we found is that the fields in the Hereford zone aren't particularly good, especially at the middle school, right? Anybody that's played at the middle school knows that there's a lot of dirt and mud there. You're playing basketball and there's not enough practice time. You play field hockey or lacrosse, and where do you go? Genesee Valley, right? Is Genesee Valley owned by Baltimore County? Well, the answer is Genesee Valley is owned privately. So what you do when your parents pay for you to play lacrosse or field hockey, you have to pay an extra fee that goes to Genesee Valley to play on those fields. Some of you might be playing at Our Lady of Grace, or play outdoors at Our Lady of Grace. Do you think that's free? Nope, not free. We pay Our Lady of Grace, or your parents pay Our Lady of Grace. Some of you play and practice at St. James Academy in Moncton. Okay, you play there. Okay, good. Is that free? Nope, it's added into the cost that your parents pay. Okay, just to give you an idea, lacrosse. Last year, you paid about $20,000 to play lacrosse. That's just the cost of the field, to rent the fields. Field hockey. How much do you think you paid Genesee Valley for field hockey? About $6,200. Okay? We paid, and that's just the beginning. If you add up all the sports and all the places that we played, it's about $50,000 a year. What can you buy for $50,000? What? You can buy a modest house for $50,000. You can buy a Mercedes automobile for $50,000. And this is every single year your parents are paying this. And the last 5 years, this has been going up by about 10% a year. So it keeps going higher and higher. Now, who knows what a park is? What's a park? Yes, what's a park? Excuse me?
It's like a place where people can come out and walk their dogs or have a park.
Sure. Where's a park? Give me an example of a park. Oregon Ridge, yes. Okay. Where else? Got another park?
It may not be that well known, but Honeygo.
Honeygo, yes, exactly right. Honeygo pretty far away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to live there, so that's why I know.
Anything else? Any other parks? Yes.
Rocky Gap.
Rocky Gap, yeah, that's way out in western Maryland, absolutely. Yes, anything else? How many parks do you think Baltimore County has? Now, first of all, Baltimore County is, we all live in Baltimore County. It encompasses everything from the Pennsylvania border, which is up at 7th District, all the way down through Pretty Boy and Sparks. It goes over to Carroll Manor of Jacksonville, if you know where that is, down to Hunt Valley, to Towson, and then over on the west side to Catonsville and Pikesville and Reisterstown and Owings Mills, and on the east side over to Parkville, to Dundalk and Sparrows Point. Okay, so Baltimore County is a big area. How many parks do you think Baltimore County has altogether? Yes.
Like 100.
Okay, 100. Anybody else got another guess? Yes.
25.
Yeah, 25?
10.
The answer is Baltimore County has greater than 100 parks. Very good. Greater than 100 parks. How many parks do you think are in the Hereford zone? That is Pretty Boy, Sparks, 7th District and 5th District. Yes. Excuse me? 6? How many do you think?
5 or 6.
5 or 6? Okay. Yes? Okay. The answer is that the Hereford zone, which is where our 3 rec councils are, have 0 parks. We have no parks. Now, parks, there's 100 of these around Baltimore County, but none of them in the Hereford zone. Let me give you an idea. This is a map of Baltimore County. This is Baltimore City right here. Baltimore County goes all the way around it. You know where we live, right? Okay, we live up here. Anybody see any numbers up there in the top half of this picture? Okay, where are the missing parks? All these little numbers are parks in Baltimore County. Okay, who's being shortchanged here? Who doesn't have parks? Yes, the Hereford zone, not a single park. And as a result, you guys or your parents are paying $50,000 a year to rent space so that you can play. And even then, I hear from different programs that you don't have enough space, you don't have enough time, especially for the indoor facilities. There are something called regional parks. Honeygo is one of the regional parks. Regional parks are big parks with a lot of fields and an indoor facility as well. Okay? How many regional parks do you think Baltimore County has? Anybody have an idea? Yes. There are 8 regional parks. A typical regional park might be Honeygo, where they have 5 or 6 fields, tennis courts, outdoor basketball courts, maybe a pavilion, hiking trails like you have back here behind the school, and an indoor facility. An indoor facility is a building with a big gym in it and meeting rooms. So this is a gym the size of Sparks or at Hereford Middle School, not the size of your gym, which is very small. Okay? So there are 8 regional parks. How many of them are in the Hereford zone? Yes? 0. Exactly right. 0. And because the regional parks are for the rec councils that are in that area, they get to use those parks. We don't get to use the parks because they're not in our area. Not unless there's extra time that's not being used by the local rec councils. Do you think there's extra time that's not being used that we can use? No. No extra time. Okay? Let's see. One other thing that I want to mention. Oh, let's see. These 100 parks, there are about 126 fields. These are soccer fields, field hockey fields, lacrosse fields, all around Baltimore County. 126 of them, at least. We have 0 in this area. About 10 years ago, I started to try to get Baltimore County to try to recognize the need that we have up here in the Hereford zone for additional fields. and they claimed that they couldn't find space. We got an awful lot of space up here, unlike some other areas of the county, and yet the county didn't seem that we could find space. Recently, the county has purchased 40 acres right next to Sparks School. And so far, the county just owns it, but they haven't done anything with it. They could, theoretically, they could make some fields there, they could perhaps put a building there, they could do a lot of things with that space. In addition, the Hereford Zone Rec Council owns about 40 acres of land just north of here up Middletown Road, near Keeney Mill Road, if you know where that is. And Baltimore County, the Rec Council is willing to give that to Baltimore County if they'll build some fields there. There are quite a few in Baltimore County turf fields. You know what a turf field is, artificial turf field? Who's played it on an artificial turf field before? Yes. What sport did you play there?
Soccer.
Soccer, okay, yes. Field hockey, yeah. Yeah, and the soccer and the field hockey programs get some time at the Hereford High School, but not a lot. We have a lighted field at the Hereford Middle School, but anybody play football here? Yes, okay, you play football. You know what that field is like back there, right? Is there a lot of grass on that field? No, there's not a lot of grass. Why? Because every single one of the teams plays on how many fields back there? One field. So all the Hereford football teams play on a single field, or practice on a single field, which means that you've got a bunch of different teams every single night there playing, because there are lights there in the fall, and you can play with the lights, or practice with the lights. What would be nice is that if Baltimore County put in a turf field back there at Hereford Middle School, so that we could play year-round and that the surface would be good. You often can't play in the springtime, and the lacrosse program tries to go back there and plays. Last year, the lacrosse program was supposed to start March 1st, which is Saturday, and they didn't get to start until the last week in March. And the reason they didn't get to start is because the field was so muddy that it was dangerous to play in. Okay? If they had a turf field, as soon as the snow is cleared away, which hopefully will be sometime soon, you could go out there and you could play on that field. In addition, teams could play, practice, and play games there. The travel soccer program, which plays games at Hereford Middle School, schedules games at home for us last. And the reason they schedule games for us last is because our fields are the worst fields in the county. And they know that if there's any kind of rain at all, that the Hereford Middle School fields get closed first because it turns to mud. There's not enough grass there to soak up the water. So there are a whole bunch of reasons why we have problems here. So what can we do about it? Anybody got any suggestions? Yes? Excuse me? Ask for more fields, yes?
Like, take down old buildings that you don't need anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Do that, yep. What else? Yes?
You could,
Lost it? Okay, yes?
use the space have to make turf field so you can put in
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly, right? And we could certainly use a building too, couldn't we, with a full-size gym in it that we could play in. You could play indoor lacrosse, you could play indoor soccer, you could play basketball. Anybody participate in wrestling? You do? Okay. Where do you wrestle? High school?
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm sure you found that lots of times when you think you have practice, you don't, because why? Gym's being used, right? So you have to work around the high school schedule. And the high school schedule, they have first choice, which is okay. That's the way it's supposed to be, that the high school has first choice. But if you're playing at the high school and you want to play basketball, or you want to wrestle, or you want to go outdoors and play lacrosse or soccer or football or baseball, then you have to work around the times when the high school is playing those sports. Okay? So there's scheduling issues as well. Somebody said there's equipment in the gym right now, right here? Not anymore. Was it the Whittle equipment? Okay. And each year that gets moved around to different schools, doesn't it? You don't have it every year, but if you don't have it next year, somebody else will have it. And that just means that 7th District or 5th or Sparks won't be able to use their own gym. So every year you're faced with this problem. There are how many Baltimore County indoor facilities? I'm not talking about school gyms now, but just buildings that have gyms in them, just for the use of rec councils. How many do you think there are? Yes?
Not that many, but I know one that I did soccer practice in.
What's that?
Old Fields School.
Old Fields is another one of those places that we rent. We pay Old Fields thousands of dollars to rent their gyms. And we do it for basketball, and we do it for soccer, and we occasionally rent their grass fields as well. Yes?
Maybe 50?
50? Actually, there are about 15 indoor gyms, big indoor gyms the size at least of the high school gym or the middle school gym. Okay, and many of them are larger than that. How many are in the Hereford zone? Yes?
None.
0. 0 in the Hereford zone.
Are you guys seeing this pattern?
Yes.
Okay? Now, when I was growing up, we didn't have any parks either, but nobody had any parks. And some of the excuses that I hear for the reason why there aren't any parks is that you ought to be playing in your own backyard. That you ought to just be able to just walk to your neighbor's house and have a pickup game with your friends. Yes?
Well, if you live in townhouses, like I used to live in a townhouse, and
Mhm.
we didn't have much backyard,
Yep.
so it's not technically just outside.
Also, a lot of you, where do your friends live? Can you walk to your friends' houses?
No.
What has to happen to get to your friend's house? Yeah, your parents have to drive you. So if you lived in a neighborhood where all the houses were close together, it might be possible to walk to your friend's house and go out behind somebody's house and play a little soccer or baseball or football or whatever you want to do. But it's not so easy here. So your parents have to take you someplace. And unfortunately for us, the only place your parents can take you that are in your neighborhood, in your area, is the schools. And those schools are being used 100% of the time. Okay? What can you do about it? Well, you can if there's, in Baltimore County, there is someone who's in charge of Baltimore County, who's an elected official. It's called the county executive. Okay? It's like the president of the United States, except that he's the president of Baltimore County. Right? The county executive's name is Kevin Kamenetz. If you want to have some effect on fixing this problem, you write to Kevin Kamenetz and tell him how you're affected personally. Not just, here's some things that I know about sports, but here's some things that I know about me and my team. Do you think he's more likely to read a letter from you or a letter from me? What do you think? Letter from you, exactly right. When he gets a personal handwritten letter from somebody like this group, for example, talking about a particular problem that they have, it's going to get his attention. And that's my suggestion to you. If you find at the end of this session, and you may hear from some people who think that the facilities are just fine right now, but if you don't, and you come to the conclusion that you think that this is an important cause that you ought to take up, then you can have an effect. You can make a difference. And the way you can make a difference is by contacting the county executive. And I would suggest that you also contact our county councilman. Anybody know who a county councilman is? No? Okay. It's a fellow, yes?
Dr. Dance?
No, he's Dr. Dance is the chairman of the school board, the president of the school board. Our county, in Baltimore County, there are 7 different districts. The one that covers the Hereford zone is District 3, and the councilman in District 3 is Wade Cash. Okay, so he knows about this problem, and I know that he wants to try to fix it. Okay, but he can't do it himself. He has to go work with the other councilmen in the other districts who have plenty of space. Of course, they want more space too. They want indoor tennis courts, and Baltimore County has indoor tennis courts. Baltimore County has swimming pools. Baltimore County has dog parks. Baltimore County has a lot of recreation facilities. And I didn't even touch on those. I'm just talking about the basic needs here. And what we need to do as a group is to contact our county councilman and the county executive and tell them about our needs. Okay? Who has a question? Anybody? Yes?
Well, where I live, there's like a field where nobody lives, and there's like barely anybody using it.
Yep.
And I don't know why it's just there. It's just like a plain field just sitting there.
Is it mowed?
I don't know.
Okay. Now, somebody owns that field, and if they want to let a team use it, they could do that. The problem with using private fields is that you need insurance, because the owners are afraid that if somebody gets injured on the field, falls in a gopher hole, for example, or trips and injures themselves, that they're going to sue the owner. Now, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because at Genesee Valley, where you play lacrosse and field hockey, and at Old Fields, and at where you go and rent space for indoor facilities, not only do you pay a rental fee for the gym, but you also have to pay for insurance, over and above the insurance that Baltimore County provides. So it's another cost that's added in. Any other questions? Yes?
Why are people against it?
People are against it because if Baltimore County decides that they're going to build fields here in the Hereford zone, or put in an artificial turf field at the middle school, where does that money come from? Yes? Yes, it comes from taxes. Okay? So they're against it because if Baltimore County, if they spend the money for this, it has to come from taxes. And people don't want to see their taxes go up. But right now, your parents' taxes are paying for all of these facilities, none of which you can use. So all we're asking for is that there's some equity, some evenness here in who gets what, okay? And right now, the Hereford zone is being shortchanged. If you're paying taxes to build all these additional facilities, but you can't use any of them. Incremental taxes to create, let's say, ideally, we could use half a dozen multi-purpose fields that you could play lacrosse, soccer, field hockey, football on, an indoor facility, and a turf field at the middle school. The total cost would be in the order of $3 or $4 million, which sounds like an awful lot of money. But when you consider that the budget for Baltimore County is over $1 billion, it's a very, very small piece. And that the budget for projects like this for Baltimore County, Recreation and Parks last year spent $8 billion on facility development, things like this. $8 million. How many of those dollars came to the Hereford zone? Yes? You're close, because when the county bought the fields at Sparks, or the space at Sparks, if you know the driveway that goes into Sparks, the space on the right, which is farmland right now, the county spent $300,000 to buy that. That's the only money that the county spent in the last 10 years in the Hereford zone.
So, Mr. Vanderbeek, have you had a lot of people voice their opinion about whether or not Hereford should have a park? Have there been both sides?
It's almost universal that Hereford would, not only needs a park, but deserves a park.
So have you heard from children in the area that would utilize this park as well? Have you had opinions from them yet?
Mostly, people like you don't understand that there are plenty of parks in Baltimore County. There just aren't any here. You don't know how much Baltimore County has spent on parks all around the county except in the Hereford zone. And you just take it as that's just the way it is, that up here we don't have any parks. We play at the schools, that's where we play, that's where our games are. Or we play at Genesee Valley, which has beautiful fields. We pay for those fields. Or parents pay for those fields.
So how many people are sitting here thinking, we should have a park? Or how many of you think that your parents are thinking, I shouldn't have to spend this extra money to rent parks. So I'm thinking Mr. Van Beek might need some help to contact our councilman and our county executive and let them hear from you, how you feel. Remember he talked about Mr. Kamenetz and Mr. Catch. They need to hear from you. And they're probably going to listen to you because you're the ones that are affected as well. Your parents' pocketbook, but you playing on these fields. So anybody interested in doing a little investigation and finding out some ideas on both sides of the argument, taxes, space, money, all kinds of things, and then our choice of where we want to play, maybe we'll write a letter. We'll do something. Okay.
That's exactly right, and the more informed you are, the more persuasive your argument is. If you simply write County Executive Kamenetz a letter saying, we want more parks, he's gonna toss it in the waste bin. But if you tell him, here's how much money Baltimore County collects each year in taxes, and here's how much money is going into recreation and parks, and here's how much money is going into the Hereford Zone recreation and parks, then you've got some substance. You start to make an argument. And the more persuasive your argument is, the more he's going to listen. Does that make sense? Okay? And it requires a lot of research, and it requires some work. Don't just take what I've given you today and say, oh, this guy came in and he's a rec council person and he coaches soccer and he wants more fields. It's got to be something more than that. It's not about me, it's about you guys, right? You're the ones who are suffering. I'm not using the parks except to coach. You're the ones who use the parks. And you're the ones who deserve and need decent fields and a decent facility in which to play. Okay? Sports is fun, but the fun part about sports occurs as you grow and learn the game, whether you're talking about basketball or lacrosse or soccer. Okay? You can go and play, and that's fine. But going and playing and knowing that you're getting better through practice because you've had the time and the space in which to practice, that's what the real reward is. Okay? Good.